And this is my religion, politics, opinion, and or like culture, and then art and reference bookcase. So the very top here is religion. So we've got world religion textbooks, some Buddhism, some Hinduism. There's one book on Scientology. It's a book on witches, a historical book. There's The Case for Faith, actually, is a series of questions, criticisms of Christianity and God, and it attempts to address those. And then here's some holy books that I've found over the years. There's a Quran, there's a Book of Mormon. Believe it or not, up here in Canada you can find those things. There's a Bible, and which of course has both Old and New, so that takes care of Jewish and Christianity. There's Breaking the Spell by Dennett. It's a great book. I actually have that one signed. He visited up here at my university and gave a talk. And I actually am working with a student, he's a professor now, but I'm working with one of his postdoc students. So that's kind of an interesting connection. There's Hitchens. I've read The Portable Atheist is very good. It's an anthology of atheist writers. So Hitchens is in there, Dawkins. There's also some historical writers. I'm not sure who, but there's other like literature writers and stuff who were atheists. And I believe Ian Hersey's in there as well. Some good stuff in there. And there's The God Delusion, which is shining right now. But that's Dawkins' his main book. Here's some other bookcase decorations. So there's a coconut head. Cuban, I guess. I don't know, but there's just a coconut head with a beard. Okay, here's politics. So there's on media, there's Jesse Ventura's book, Democrats and Redbloodlickens, The Reckless Mind, Intellectuals in Politics. There's Judge Napolitano. If you watch anything on Fox News, you'll know who he is. Righteous Indignation by Andrew Breitbart. I've got a review of that. Very good. More biographical, though, really. But one thing I thought, actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my book review of it, but it talks about the early days of the Internet, and it's actually really interesting. That's a really good piece in there. I think it was the early 80s when the Internet started coming up. He talks about that, and it's really interesting, like kind of new media looking into the Internet, or like a new space or a new environment, new territory. That's supposed to be a good book. I haven't got to it yet, though. Revolt of the Masses by Gassett. I read half of this liberal fascism one. It's okay. Essentially, it says that the left is actually the source of all kinds of totalitarianism in the world. People think that right wing is Mussolini's fascism, or right wing was Hitler, but it's just not the case in terms of what the left actually believe, and that's good by force. That's doing good by force. That's what the left believes. So that's what that book's about. There's some Chairman Mao quotations, random stuff in here. The Trouble with Canada Still, that I've read that one. William Gairdner. It's a pretty good book on Canada. It's a large book, but he does a good job, and he talks about everything. So it's very good. If you're interested in Canada, you could probably just, if you didn't live in Canada, but you still kind of wanted a book on Canada, that would probably be a good one. At least a contemporary book on Canadian politics and how the country runs and all that. Here's a couple books on intellectuals that I was going to use for my series, and I never finished because very few people were interested, I guess, but I should have known, because very few people are interested in these kind of videos anyway, so I should have known that. But anyways, they're here. They're on public intellectuals because I was interested at the time on how influential are intellectuals in society. So, like someone like Christopher Hitchens, how influential was he? And how do you measure that? And what routes or what places are intellectuals influential? Are they influential in academia? Are they influential in media? All those kinds of things. So, here's a totem pole, just a random bookcase item. There's some other random books on politics. There's Hitchens, Henry Kissinger, who he really, really hates. Foreign Policy of Freedom by Ron Paul. I've read that. It's actually a collection of his speeches in Congress. And you can see even, I think it's from the oh no, I don't know if it's like the 70s or 80s, early 80s. He talks about problems that are going to be coming up, especially with foreign interests, and he has this concept, or foreign intervention, I mean, and he has this concept called blowback, which means if you meddle with other countries, eventually you'll get hit at home by things like terrorism. So it's interesting. It's an interesting book. It's kind of haunting because it seemed like he knew what was going to be happening, and yet no one listened to him. Here's some other one. This is supposed to be good, but I don't really know what it's about, but I still have it, and I'll get to it eventually, but it's supposed to be good. But I don't know what's in there. Israel Lobby, How Powerful Are the Jews in the World? China. There's a Chomsky book on politics. There's a on Canada and the United Nations, and there's some other random ones on imperialism. Okay, here's more. This is more politics. So there's some very old books on conservatism, like for example that's Barry Goldwater one, so an old one on conservatives. Some other recent ones. There's Margaret Thatcher, of course. Thomas Jefferson. I'm not sure that maybe should be put in political philosophy, but there's John Stossel's book. No, they can't. Bob Rae is a Canadian politician. Some stuff here on Supreme Courts. There's Ezra Levant's Shakedown, another Ezra Levant one. There's Mark Stein, Mark Levin. I probably don't need to say anything about those. There's a New Road to Serfdom, which I thought might be interesting. Some other ones here, Crossing the Rubicon. This is on oil. This area is on oil. There's that blue one there is on oil. For example, oil and world power. There's one, I don't know if that's going to be worth anything, that Madeleine Albright. These are some, this Crossroads one actually has chapters on it by both Democrats and Republicans, and not Bill Gates. Clinton has a chapter in there, interesting, in that Crossroads book. Michael Savage is supposed to be some guy in the States who's, I guess, right-wing. And there's another book. That one's on Japan, that red one there. You can see a bit of spaces because I've actually thrown out some books.